Hi! Today I'm gonna tell you about my way of drawing the female bodies. So I've already prepared this thing for today. I took the estimated height of the girl and divided it into the 7 parts. Each part is the size of the head. I'm lowering the opacity of this layer with this graph, and I take quite big airbrush, just a simple airbrush, and start drawing the head. I start with the circle and then add the jawlines. Drawing the head is a completely different topic, and we're not gonna stop here this time because it's like completely different world. After the head, I usually draw a spine to understand how the body flows. But this time we don't need a spine because the body is very symmetrical. So we're just gonna draw a very straight line to the very bottom. Next thing what I do is I mark the neck and I try to mark the shoulders. They're gonna be somewhere in the middle of the second part, but just right up a little bit. And then I draw a chest area. The chest area starts right on top of the second part, and the bottom of it lies somewhere in the middle of the third part. This is just a simple ellipse, circle, maybe looks a little just like an upside down egg. Now I'm marking the hips. They're gonna be somewhere in the middle of the fourth part. And now it's time to draw a little onigiri thing, just like this guy over there. The circle plus the onigiri hips are gonna give us this hourglass look. Now it's time to define where the arm is gonna be. Arm starts with the shoulder and then continues to the waist area. The elbow is gonna be on the level of the waist. You can check it just taking your own elbow and just pushing it. And you will find that it's pushing you right in the waist. And I'm continuing drawing the head. So the wrist is gonna be on the level of the hips. I'm marking the wrists with the dots and then just connect the dots. I would recommend you here not to just connect with a straight line, these dots, but make it a little wavy, like this. Now I'm marking the kneecaps area, so I'm making the dots for the kneecaps and ankles, and then again just connecting them. But I'm making the lower leg line a little curvy again. It's gonna help the leg look more natural. So I'm making a little circle now around all the dots I've made, to give it approximate diameter of this body part. And this little chest line, just to give me an idea about the lungs and the chest area. Now I'm lowering the opacity of this sketch layer and create a new one to make a little bit more detailed sketch, to get rid of all the super extra line I don't need anymore. And also give the volume to all the body parts I've just drawn with the sticks. This circle method helps you to not just create those straight lines for the shoulder, for the hands and everything. It helps you to understand where, well, the curves should be. I'm drawing her chest now, again with some circles, and these bones here. They're really simple to draw when you have your shoulders, so you just connect them, and now you have your collarbone. Now I'm outlining the chest area, the waist, and the hips, marking the middle of the stomach, the belly button. To help me define these hip bones, I'm drawing the circles inside the onigiri thing. And where the circles connect with the hips, there I'm gonna draw a little bone, like bump, that's gonna define the bone. So let's pause here for a second. When we talk about the legs and the arms, we need to know the muscles, because it will help us to define, to understand where the curves should be. So actually for this tutorial I've prepared several things, several drawings that are gonna help you to define all the muscles. So this cute bow lady is gonna help us, and we have 5 versions here of her. Just a line art, like a finished artwork. This is what lays behind the line art. Simplified muscle structure. I've divided it into simple, colorful areas. This one is the muscles with volume. I really like black and white images because they're like super clear if we're talking about the volume. This one is the volume divided into the colorful areas. And the bone girl, to understand where all these bones are located. I've made this girl with muscles, but you don't need to draw them every time, because we have skin over our muscles, and more importantly, we have some fats that covers the muscles, because we all like pizza and ice cream and sushi and stuff like that, chips, cakes. Anyway, they're completely free. You can download them on the Patreon. I'm gonna leave a link in the description and the comment section. I also have the same pose from the back, 3 of the 4th thing, and the side. So now we're gonna open this chat and look at the muscles. Now let's get back to our body. So I'm looking now at the muscles chart, and I know where everything is and where I should give these curves. I always try to keep these muscles right next to me when I'm drawing the poses. I've marked the chest area, looking at the bones, because sometimes when the girl is skinny, you can see these bones. The crotch area, right on this hips line. Here I'm trying to define how it looks better. With arms now, it's basically like connect the dots, but you try to remember about the volume. And again, you look at the muscles, and you can clearly see why every bump is there, why every curve is there. I highly recommend you to find many images, anatomic images, in the Pinterest, somewhere, from the other artists. Collect them in one folder, and every time you want to draw something, ideally, you should open it, try to find the closest image, and look at it, analyze it, and recreate it. With time, you're gonna be able to recreate it in your mind. But still, I've drawn more than 1,000 poses, I guess, right now, and I still use this thing, because you can't remember everything. And it's always easy to just look at a reference and see what's wrong and what's right. For now, I'm marking the kneecaps like these little triangles. And I'm continuing to draw the lower leg. Again, looking at the muscles chart. They are a little curvy. And then the legs. Again, it's better to use reference. Here, for example, I didn't use reference. That is why it just came out not so perfect. But I've been recording, and I was basically so I needed to search, and I just wanted to focus on recording here. So in the base case scenario, you better look for references. Now I'm drawing the arms and the fingers. Again, this thing, legs and the hands are completely different thing. I think the hands and the legs are gonna take several different videos separate, because this is like very complicated topic. Leave a comment if you like this tutorial and want to see the tutorials about the hands and legs from me. I can do that, but I want to know if you want me to do that. Now I just clean everything a little before going into the final part. And I turn off the previous sketch layer and I create the new layer, and now I'm ready for the final line art. For the final line art, I'll have to zoom in several parts, but I want to see the picture in general to understand what I'm doing right or what I'm doing wrong. And here is a little tip from me if you use Photoshop. Go to Window, Arrange, and right on the bottom, you'll find New Window for this canvas. And now you just pull it and drag it to where you want it to be. See, I made it smaller. I just moved things a little so this body would hold being framed, and moved this frame to the very corner. Now I always have the little image of what is going on, and I can freely zoom in any part, draw a little, and then see how the final result looks from far. When I've been drawing in the traditional art, you just need always to move away, see from far how it looks, just look closer. Here you can just create this little window right here, and it's gonna be perfect. And now I'm basically creating the line art. I start with the eyes, because I like to start with the eyes. I also like to add little details like the heart or the horns right away, because otherwise I find it very boring to learn stuff when these exercises just create 100 heads and you're like, that's boring. Just like any heads, let me make them interesting then. If I need to do it, well, I'll need to find a way to make it fun. For example, I've started the poses references like a training for myself to get a motivation to draw poses once every 2 weeks. And after a while, I got bored with just drawing poses, so I've started turning them into characters. And I know they don't like blank poses anymore, but it helps me to keep the motivation up. We basically already did all the job. We just need to create line art to make it clear and beautiful. I don't always have these 3 steps, like rough sketch, then more clear sketch, and then line art. I usually have a sketch and line art, but that's because I have a lot of experience in this thing, so don't feel a lot of pressure about creating this sketch number 1, sketch number 2. You can just create 1 sketch. I've been just trying to make it look clear for you, and I should say in some difficult poses, like dynamic or the poses that I'm not comfortable yet to draw, I will use several sketch layers, like the first step, the second step, to define everything, to see if I've made any mistakes. And here we have our finished character. Congratulations! So thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked the tutorial. So feel free to leave a link on your results in the comment section. If you ever try this tutorial, tag me on Instagram. I'll be happy to see the result. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye! So I'm drawing a line from the shoulder to waist. Nice. Now, and how is this thing called? Lower leg. Really? It's not lower leg. It doesn't look like what I mean. Ankle. Ankle. Ankle.